So you're both project managers for fragile communities, and you were the first one that was hired.
Yes.
Particularly for one designated community, and Sigríði has been in this business for many years. So I'm going to start with you, Sigríði, and ask you how come the Regional Institute started this project, and what is the background, why?
It started, as I said, in 2012 for one community in Reyðarhöfn, which is a small village in the northeast of Iceland with 170 inhabitants. They had some problems for a long time with depopulation and also in the economy. Mm-hmm. So there was a good reason for starting there. So this was a sort of a pilot project. Conversation between the director of Byggðastofnun and the mayor of the municipality.
Mm-hmm. I was reading through a report from 2012 in May, where you were kind of analyzing the situation in different communities in Iceland, and you define 30 communities, same problems with depopulation, over 15% over 15 years, and did this report or analysis that you do on a regular basis have any effect on the startup of the project?
In my work over these 12 years, I have this has been my task to work with fragile communities, you could say, but I don't know if there's any direct connection between this report and this project. I wasn't part of this first conversation, you could say, and because I had been doing these reports, then they asked me to hop on board.
If I may add one thing about this, there might be the link that despite the obvious trend in many places in Iceland with depopulation, there has not been any tool that could deal with specific instances. I mean, we have been more or less relying on the countrywide support system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Reyðarhöfn was selected probably because on many scales it was scoring very high. I mean, the depopulation was 50% there.
Yeah. Over 55%, I think.
Far highest in the country.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it was a good place to start. I was going to ask you why you applied for this job.
You didn't.
The other way, I was contacted and.
So you were headhunted.
Yeah, you could call it that. The reason might be that I am linked to the area. I am living in Kópasker, one of the next towns, and both Aðalsteinn and Bergur knew me beforehand. And I had actually been working on things related to regional development for some time, and it also is one of my, let's say, interest areas, regional development, and so I found this interesting. However, it was not obvious for me to step into this role because the community has suffered so much that it's not, let's say, a positive outcome is not an obvious thing.
It's not on the horizon.
No, so it was. I saw it as some risk at the same time.
Yeah. How did the community respond? I mean.
Well, the community had already asked for someone to help them. I mean, one of the outcomes of the
community workshop?
Community workshop was to have a project leader to help them. So they were quite positive.
Okay.
And I could start working on some things that had been mentioned in the workshop.
Okay. This task of being a project manager or a project management board for that matter is quite an impossible one. And I was just thinking, what do you have in mind when you find people to do this, to take on these roles, and what do you think that are the challenges they face? Maybe necessary skills and
Well, first of all, they need to be interested in the work and in this role, and of course they have to be very good in communicating skills, because their role is not least to contact people and help them, aid them on their interest areas and projects. So I think to be interested and to be good in communicating is essential for this work. And that's also, I think, when hiring the people we have had to work with us, a major factor.
Perhaps we looked at, when hiring the project leaders, not Kristján, because we picked him out, sort of, he was the first, but the others, that was because we are working with regional development agencies and such, and the municipality, of course, and those in the area were responsible for the interviews, and of course we in the steering group for each area we had something to say about it, of course, and then Byggðastofnun is paying the salary or most of it, but they are working for, like in the southeast of Iceland, for instance, then they are working for then C is working for SAS, and they interviewed those who applied for the job. So perhaps they were looking for somebody with experience in consultants.
Do you think it's important to be a local person?
No, not necessarily. It can be an advantage to come from the outside, and just then everybody is in the sort of equal, and perhaps it's possible that if you come from nearby community, then somebody is a bit suspicious because of the sort of strain between the neighbors. I don't know if that was your experience.
Well, I mean, it can have both downsides and positive sides to be a local, and obviously it's good to have knowledge to the area and the people. However, as Sigga says, it might be a good thing also to come as a new one, to not to be bound of any previous relations.
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about the management structure behind the project. Do you have steering groups in each community and then management board for the project?
You could say that, yes. There's a steering board for each community, and we call the project on the whole, all over the country, we call it brothættarbyggðir or fragile communities. And then we don't have actual steering board for that. It's just us at Byggðastofnun, and we are working together with ministry and others. We have been working on a project plan for the whole project in the last months. But yes, there's a steering board for each community, and each community finds its own name for the project. They don't call it fragile community. They have a new name, and that's a bit more optimistic. everywhere it's got something to do with the future.
Yeah, okay.
Building up the future.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to add maybe that even if we have not a formal board for the project as a whole, that might also change because we are still developing the system.
Yeah.
Last week you attended a workshop in relation to the FIERE project, and I was wondering, we were discussing concepts like innovation and creativity, and it seems to me like maybe these concepts are relevant to fragile communities and to the process you are working on in those communities. And what do you think?
I agree, but I think that we need to focus on innovation in a broad sense, not in the narrow sense we usually do. You have to, invent the wheel every time. I think that something that's new in one community can have existed for a long time in another. And then I'd like to stress also that we are not just thinking about the economy and all the working places. I mean, it's not enough for you to stick around in some place just to have work. It's necessary, of course, but it's not enough. You have to build up the society. You have to think about its people and what makes them, stick to the place. What's needed? What kind of working places? What kinds of service and culture and everything. We went on a trip to Norway to learn from a program they have there, and it's a sort of reaction to crisis in the economy, but they are not thinking in the ways that we do. They are not so society or oriented as we are. I mean, we are thinking about...
You're thinking about communities rather than municipalities?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah, maybe the Norwegian project is very well established and planned, and their main focus is on working places. I mean, on companies, more jobs. And that is also the case, as Sigríður said, with Brothættar Byggðir, our program. However, there is more focus on the soft side of the community, you could say.
You have to sort of build up the moral of the society.
And if I may just comment on the question, I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that those things dealt with on the program or the workshop we had with FIERE, all those things are very important in the work on Brothættar Byggðir. And I mean, this was only a short workshop, and the best thing for example, the project managers, etc., would have to be to gain more practice and
it was very good for us because it made us just stop a bit and think about what we're doing. So we would like to get the longer version.
You would like to get the longer version. We have to think about that then. I was also thinking about analytical thinking and resourcefulness. I mean, you have been in the analysis you've already made. I mean, you know all the facts and figures, and you know the population, you know the services. You've been analyzing, really extensive the community and its elements. Is this something that you will continue doing?
But I think that doing those reports over the years, which I have been doing 3 times, I think, this was just updated. I did it by traveling around, visiting the communities or the municipalities, interviewing the mayors and those sitting in the government, local government, and others. So I think that I have build both connections and knowledge around Iceland during this work. So, and it's a sort of, it's a great interest of mine working with the communities. I don't think that you could, if you're working at the institute like we are doing, or I am doing, if you're just sitting behind the desk all the time and you are writing, you just have the figures. Yes, the population has gone down 50% over the last 15 years or something, and that's very severe and all that, but you're never going there, and you don't know from your own experience how bad the road is. Everybody is talking about the roads are so bad, this is missing and this is dangerous and so on and so forth, but you've never been there, and you never talked to the people. I mean, of course you can do it that way, but it's
not
different.
It's
you
not
don't have the experience or the understanding. It's so different.
So basically, how many municipalities and communities are there in Iceland? Do you know?
72. No.
Yeah, I think it's a figure maybe around 60, 70.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact figure.
So almost half of them are fragile.
We are not always dealing with with municipalities. Like Raufarhöfn is just a part of.
I know, but I mean,
a big. Yes, but we are working now. We are working in 7 communities, and 9 more applied.
I think
wanted to participate in
I think in a sense you could say most of the small communities in the countryside are fragile. I mean, very many of them have lost part of their population. However, it varies between the communities how fragile they are and what opportunities are there to regain their strength. And I think in general we are, as a nation, are dealing with very strong forces when it comes to people moving from the rural areas to the capital, and that's also the case in other countries, of course. So coming back to the question of the seminar we had in the FIERE project, these skills are very important for everyone working in this field, and actually we have to be innovative and creative in our work, because we know the old methods have not been working too well. So I think it lies in the work itself that those dealing with those things have to be very creative.
I think that we make a good team, because he is more to the ground than I am. I mean, he thinks in a more mathematical way than I do.
So you're a good team.
Well, we support each other, yeah, I think so.
That's good. So you you're both a project manager for Raufarhöfn, but you're also involved in the whole project.
Yes, I have been working with Sigríði and the other part of the steering team, and not the least have we been working together for 1.5 years now on developing the project also for the whole country.
So being like a mentor for the other project managers.
Yes, yes, you could say that. We have been trying to support them, and at the same time we have been trying to describe the project in a kind of a brochure or guideline for the whole project. So it has been both under development and working at the same time.
When I was looking through your presentation, I saw that Ernst & Young made some comments on the process. When was this? And
the ministry, our ministry, decided to have the Brotatabygðir make an evaluation of it. So they hired them to do it, and they started in the fall of last year, in September, October or something, 2014, and finished in March or April this year. And it was it was a large report of many pages, but very helpful for us because we have been doing this plan for the whole project as well. So we just stopped doing it while he was evaluating the project, and we have been using this report for further planning. So it was very good for us. There was a sort of both criticism, both of course, some positive things and other more negative. He interviewed those in the steering groups in the areas. We did it as well. We had been evaluating the project ourselves a bit before this started.
And you reconstructed the project?
Yes, if I may on this, I mean this was maybe an outcome both of our own evaluation of the project and then the governmental report, and there were maybe two main learnings. Firstly, that the project had to be ongoing for some years because it takes a long time to implement new projects and the thinking about it. And also the program needs in every community needs a program leader to follow up on things. We found out that where there were no project leaders or managers, the projects are kind of faded out in some months. So that was the two main learnings.
It's a pilot project, so there were lots of loose ends. We've just been adjusting it along the way, so this was one of the loose ends.
And if I may, I could say that the evaluation made by the government came at a very good time, except from the fact that many communities had applied before that, so they had to wait quite a long time for a decision.
Yeah. But you were starting a lot of projects this year, and are you gonna? Do you have funding for the future, or do you foresee that more communities will get involved?
There were applications for 12 communities. We decided to take on 3 more communities, and that's as far as we can stretch.
So you have funding for what, 3 years, 2 years?
According to the development plan for the whole country, we have some funding through 2017, so we cannot plan too much beyond that point in time. However, of course, we are optimistic that the program survives the next regional plan for the country. This is, of course, the number of communities we are working with is, of course, a matter of money or funding, but also a matter of our own capacity. Yes. I think that we have to give each community quite some attention and aid in order to...
So you don't really foresee that you can kind of do this in all the communities that need it?
We hope so.
Yeah.
We do, and I might add to what Kristján has been saying, that we have felt some positive reaction amongst politicians and government. They know about this program. And that's what helped us in the beginning, that they were interested and helped us to get some funding. But it's just like everything in Iceland, funding, those sums are not so big, and that we could quite easily see that when we visited Norway. That was very, very different. Yeah. But I'm a bit optimistic because we have had positive reaction in the system.
Yes,
in the government.
I agree, but and in the long term, I would expect us to be able to work with many of those, if not all of those communities, but maybe not in 2016, 15 or 16.
Because not at the same time.
No, and not at the same time.
We have to be careful not to be too many places at the same time because of this. Then we can't give them the attention they need. And we have to, when we hire the project leaders, we have to be able to help them start their work, and I mean, we cannot just lead them to it.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, this is still a learning process. So I think, in a way, those that have had to wait, they're in a kind of lucky at the same time, because we are still learning, and we still have a long way to go in order to combine the effort between, for example, the local people, between us, and then the government. We have still many things to learn on that front, I think.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, what do you think that are the most relevant challenges that a fragile community faces?
One point, of course, in connection with that is that those are aging communities. The young people have gone away and are not coming back. That's a huge problem. A few children in the schools.
I think that is the most important thing that Sigríði mentioned. There is not enough young people to take over in the community. And also, in many cases, those communities have lost their base in the economy. I mean, the fishing quotas have just vanished overnight, and that has made them very vulnerable to all other kinds of problems.
Yes, perhaps in those communities they have been dependent on one company, for example, in the fishing industry. So if something happens, then that's very dangerous. And that's something you hear all around the country, that you have to have some variation in the economy, not to be dependent, totally dependent on one large company with which is the biggest except for the municipality.
And then I could mention a lack of opportunities and very often a lack of sufficient infrastructure as well. We are talking about maybe bad roads or lack of three-phase electricity, and the most common is maybe lack of usable internet connections, which is bad for both working places, for the families, and for example for education, and not to mention the tourism.
Yeah, and to keep the young people, because they want to have those things working. And you cannot forget the housing. That's
the housing.
Something they all have in common. You can't. If you want to move to one of those communities, perhaps you can't get a flat or a house, because there's nothing on the market, either to buy or to rent, especially for the rental, and because of the real estate market in those areas, people don't dare to build houses, build new houses, because they can't sell it. So I don't know if this project of ours is unique in any way. It is in Iceland, I think, because of the democratic way we are working, because we are listening to the locals and we are listening to what they want, and that's basic. That's the ground for the project. But we have this 2 days workshop with the locals, and they tell us, and they prioritize what to do, and they tell us their wishes. So that's what we work with. So perhaps that's a bit unique about this project in Iceland, at least, and perhaps others could learn from it as well.
Well, I could say that I really hope that this project will help those communities, and I hope in the near future we'll be able to combine the effort, as I said, of the local people and the institutions, and not the least the governments.
Do you feel any changes in the communities you've already been working in, like in Raufarhöfn?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I would say the people in Raufarhöfn are, they are experiencing more optimism and more activity, yes, I think.
Kristján knows this community better than I do, but I came, I can say that we had a meeting there 1 or 2 weeks ago or something with the locals, and the mayor of the community, or of the municipality, he's rather new. I think he has been on for 1 or 2 years perhaps, and he was so impressed because of the spirit of this meeting, and those who knows the community, and we that started there in 2012, the first meeting with the locals in December 2012, and the meeting 2 weeks ago is totally different. I don't know if you're going to save this community. I have no idea, but we gave them some hope, and they started to sort of believe in themselves as well. I think.
Yes, I think the situation is on many fronts better than it was before. However, it's a bit difficult to tell what is the exact reason behind the change, because Raufarhöfn got aid from the government in a form of quota, and of course, since the fishing industry is the main industry in Raufarhöfn, it helped a lot in the beginning of the project, and still does, and probably that is one of the biggest factors that have made the change in Raufarhöfn.